Number 3. The third connecting principle is that connecting goes beyond words. In other words, connecting is more than what we say, and this first paragraph is pretty important for the foundation of the chapter and for the teaching, so let's go. When many people try to communicate with others, they believe the message is all that matters. But the reality is that communication goes way beyond words. In an important study, UCLA psychology prof emeritus discovered that the face-to-face communication, here's a very important statement, you may want to underline it in your notes. Face-to-face communication can be broken down into 3 components: words, tone of voice, body language. What may come as a surprise is that in some situations, what people see us do and the tone that we use can far outweigh any words we say while trying to communicate. In situations where feelings and attitudes are being communicated, here we go. What we say accounts for only 7% of what is believed. What we say accounts for only 7% of what is believed. The way we say it accounts for 38%. And what others see, this is visual, accounts for 55%. Amazingly, more than 90% of the impression that we often convey has nothing to do with what we actually say. So there are 3 components. So I want to break this down because this can be hard to put your hands around unless it is broken down. So here's how I did it. There are 3 components of communication: thought, something we know; emotion, something we feel; and action, something we do. I believe, stay right with me, those 3 components are essential to connect as well. Fail to include any one of the 3, and there will be a disconnection from people and a breakdown in communication. More specifically, here's how I think the breakdown would occur. If I try to communicate something I know but do not feel, my communication is dispassionate. In other words, I know it, but I don't feel it. What's the result? Lacks passion. If I try to communicate something I know but do not do, my communication is theoretical. In other words, I can be a professor in college. That's just a thought. If I try to communicate something I feel but do not know, my communication is unfounded. It will lack confidence and security. If I try to communicate something I feel but do not do, my communication is hypocritical. If I try to communicate something I do but do not know, my communication is presumptuous. And if I try to communicate something I do but do not feel, my communication is mechanical. So what we have to do is we have to make these 3 things: thought, action, emotion. They have to be congruent, because when they are, that's when connecting goes beyond what we say. Because now we are emoting stuff that people can feel, and we're connecting with them more than just verbally. So I'm going to try to break it down a little bit more. Action. We're going to take the 3 things: action, thought, and emotion. Action. Something we do. This is something we do. This is a visual part of communication. That's connecting visually. This is what people see. It's what Henry Ward Beecher meant when he said there are persons so radiant, so genial, so kind, so pleasure-bearing that you instinctively feel good in their presence, that they do you good. Who's coming into the room is like bringing a lamp there. We all know that, don't we? I mean, it's not what they say. Do we not know people just like that? They come and they bring warmth, and they come and you just like them. You like them. It's not what they say. And aren't there other people? They don't come in the room bringing a lamp. They come in and blowing out the candle. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? They come in, they're turning out the lights. I mean, in 3 seconds you say, well, where the heck am I? Hello, what's happening here? To connect with people visually, I'm going to give you just 3 real quick practical things. Number one, expand your range of expression. In other words, I don't know how expressive you are when you communicate. Now, this can also be individually as well as in groups. But I can tell you right now, do more. The more that you can express yourself and expand visual expression, the more effective you will be. And one of the greatest things that you can do, and I practiced this for years, is when you're watching something, if you're watching like a speech, like a, if you're watching like a State of the Union speech or anything that's a speaking, turn the sound off. Just turn the sound off and watch it for 30 minutes. I will promise you, the good ones, you can tell what they are basically saying and what they're trying to convey because of the range of their expression versus the ones who have none at all. And the best way to watch range of expression is to mute the words and just watch what they do. But here's what I tell people. I don't know what your range of expression is right now in connecting with people, but it's not enough. You cannot smile big enough. You cannot open your arms large enough. You cannot walk into a crowd. One of my privileges has been to, in a small way, mentor Joel Osteen. And when he started speaking, I started watching him, catch him a little bit on television, and I wrote him a couple of notes, and then he'd been listening to a lot of my stuff, reading books, so we got connected. But I noticed that Joel had a tendency, instead of to walk into the crowd, he had a tendency to do this. And so one time we were together, and I said, Joel, just for what it's worth, when you open your arms and you back up, you're making people try to come to you. I said, bring your hands down a little bit and come into them like this, and you'll find a whole different response. Now, he's a fabulous communicator, and I don't know if I have any business talking to him about how to communicate anyway, because he's very good. But what I'm saying is, just that one change of expression made him inclusive with people. And when I watch people speak all the time, I watch visually what is doing well for them, what is not doing well for them. But to expand your whole range of expression really helps you to begin to connect visually with people. Number two, move with a sense of purpose. When you move, do in such a way that it provides security and confidence to people. When I was in college, I applied to work at Kroger's grocery store with a friend of mine, Steve Benner. There was only one job open for the carryout guy, and so both of us went down to apply for the same job, and the manager, who was at the back of the store, came up to the front of the store to meet us, and immediately he said, walk with me to the back of the store. So we followed him to the back of the store, and we took our little test and did our little interview, and Steve Benner got the job, and I didn't. And so a couple days later, it bugged me, so I went back to the manager, and I said, could you just help me a little bit? I didn't get the job, and he did, and why did he, and why didn't I? So it's very simple. He said, I had already made that decision by the time I was at the back of the store. He said, when I said, follow me to the back of the store, I did that for a reason. He said, I wanted to see how you moved. And he said, Steve Benner stayed right with me, and he said, you were lagging behind. And he said, I wanted to hire somebody that had a sense of purpose. I want to have somebody that knows where they're going. He said, I want to have somebody that's intent and focused. And he said, I could tell in his walk, he was much more confident and much more focused than what you were. You were just, looking at the ketchup bottles. One more quick thought on the visual communication is to maintain an open posture. At all times when you're talking with people, stay open with them. That's why even on one-on-one conversations, I don't stay behind a desk. I don't stay behind anything. I come out, sit beside them, whatever it is, process. Try to have very little in front of me when I talk and when I communicate. Any physical barrier between you is always a hindrance. Don't say, well, I think it could be a hindrance. No, can I tell you something? There's no time unless you're hiding from the law. Unless you're a fugitive, there's no time to get behind something that is solid, that they can't see you. You understand? Haven't you seen, come on guys, some of you guys are in the ministry, haven't you seen these big old, forts? Talk about visual expression, all they can see is your head. You could be naked as a jaybird and nobody ever even know it. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So expand your visual expression. Let's go to thought just for a moment. Thought is something we know. This is where we connect intellectually with them. This is where they have the aha moment. This is when people understand. And let me just say, I got to go to the next sentence. Just any message that you try to convey to others must contain a piece of you. Knowledge must be experiential. Nothing can happen through you until it happens in you. Experience is not only a good teacher, it's a great persuader. So your ability to connect with thought is more than just mental words. Thought is underlined, and persuasion happens when there's experience with it. Then emotion is something we feel. In other words, how do I connect emotionally? John Kotter has written a lot of books. I'm sure you've read him. He's out of Harvard. In fact, he called me on this book, A Sense of Urgency, that I have in your paragraph. And he wanted me to read the manuscript before it came out, and he wanted to talk to me about a couple things. And it was in reading the manuscript that I came across this paragraph, and I thought, oh, how powerful. Here we go. In it, John Kotter states, for centuries we have heard the expression, great leaders win over the hearts and minds of others. Note that he doesn't say that great leaders win over the minds of others, nor does he say they win over the minds and hearts. The heart comes first. And if we desire to be a good communicator, we need always to keep that in mind. If you want to win over another person, first win his heart, and the rest of him is likely to follow. Isn't that beautiful? The heart and the mind. Go for the heart first. People may hear your words, but they feel your attitude. People will not always remember what you said. They will not always remember what you did, but they will always remember how you made them feel. True, isn't it? You see, communication's way beyond words. I was just in China again a couple of weeks ago, and every day as I was working with the business people of China, I would have a lunch with a different company. And I was having lunch this day with the owners of the 5th largest automobile manufacturing company plants in China. Over 10,000 people work for them. And so we were having a wonderful conversation, and Helen, which was her American name, the wife of this billionaire guy, she said, do you mind if she was sitting like a couple seats from me, she said, do you mind if I tell you why we like you over here? And I said, well, I'd like to know. And she said, we can tell when you teach us that you're our friend. And she said, we can tell when you teach us that you want to help us. And when you're teaching, you'll stay on an issue or a point until you really know that we've got it. But she said, it's the friendship. It's the friendship. Communication and connecting is so much beyond words. And I've heard those who are so good at communicating with words and phraseology, and they never connect. And it's because they're leaving out the large percentage of connection. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's the attitude. That's why I say to you, connecting is a skill to learn, but it's also an attitude to possess. Okay.